What if I told you that the cure for your anxiety isn't hidden in complicated techniques, endless routines, or waiting for life to change, but in just one single thought? Yes, one thought powerful enough to silence the storm in your head and give you back control over your life. Anxiety thrives by dragging you into a future that doesn't exist. But the truth is, freedom comes the moment you realize this one simple shift. In today's video, I'm going to reveal the one thought that ends anxiety and how it can change everything for you. The hook. What if I told you that the chains of your anxiety could be broken? Not in months, not in years, but in a single moment. What if I told you that the key to peace, confidence, and clarity doesn't come from trying to control everything around you, but from unlocking just one single thought? Yes, one thought powerful enough to silence the noise in your head and open the door to freedom. Pause for a second and think about this. How many hours have you lost to worry? How many nights have you laid awake, your mind racing, replaying conversations, or imagining problems that never even happened? Anxiety convinces us that if we think hard enough, if we worry long enough, we can protect ourselves. But the truth is, worry doesn't protect, it only paralyzes. Anxiety is like running on a treadmill. You get exhausted, your heart races, your mind spins, but you never actually move forward. Every what if you repeat in your mind becomes another brick in the heavy load you carry. What if I fail? What if they judge me? What if something goes wrong? And before you know it, you're not living in the moment. You're living in a world of imagined fears. The sad part is, most of these fears never even come true. But anxiety doesn't care about truth. It feeds on possibility. It thrives on keeping you stuck in a future that hasn't arrived. Here's the shift I want you to see. Peace is not far away. You don't need to escape your life, you don't need to become someone else, and you don't need to control every detail of tomorrow to feel free. Sometimes, peace begins with a single thought, a thought that reminds you that you are not powerless, that you are not trapped, and that you hold more strength than your anxiety wants you to believe. Once you truly understand this, everything changes. Because anxiety wants you to think it's bigger than you, it wants you to believe you're helpless. But you are not helpless. You have survived every single one of your hardest days. You've faced storms before and you've made it through. Doesn't that mean you are stronger than the fear that tries to hold you back? This is not about denying your feelings or pretending anxiety doesn't exist. No, it's about standing up to it. It's about realizing that anxiety may shout, but you don't have to listen. That no matter how loud the storm in your mind becomes, one clear, powerful thought has the ability to calm it instantly. So today, I want you to open your heart and your mind, because in this journey, you're about to discover the one thought that ends anxiety. A thought so simple you might question it, but so powerful it can free you the very moment you decide to embrace it. Are you ready to hear it? Then let's begin. The weight of anxiety. Anxiety is heavy. Sometimes it feels invisible to the outside world, but inside, it weighs on you like a mountain pressing against your chest. Imagine walking through life carrying a backpack filled with bricks. Every brick represents a fear, a doubt, or a what if that you've picked up along the way. What if I fail? What if they laugh at me? What if things don't work out? What if I'm not enough? Each thought adds another brick to your load, and over time, the weight feels unbearable. The truth is, most people don't see the backpack you're carrying. They see your smile, your effort, your daily routine. But they don't see the nights you lie awake, the mornings you wake up with your chest tight, or the silent battles you fight in your mind before you even step out the door. That's the cruel part about anxiety. It's a private storm. The world may not notice it, but you feel it every second. And here's the painful irony. Most of those bricks you're carrying aren't even real. They're not failures you've lived through. They're not disasters that actually happened. They're imagined fears, things your mind created as a form of self-protection. Anxiety whispers, if I can think of every bad outcome, I'll be safe. But instead of protecting you, it only suffocates you. It drains your energy, it clouds your vision, and it convinces you that the future is something to fear instead of something to create. Now stop and think. How much of your life have you spent carrying bricks that never should have been on your back in the first place? How many opportunities have you missed because the weight of what if held you back? How many joyful moments have slipped through your fingers because anxiety convinced you to focus on danger instead of beauty? But here's the truth that can set you free. You don't have to carry every brick. You don't have to live with that. To weight pressing down on you, you have the power to put some of it down. The first step to freedom is realizing that not every anxious thought deserves to be carried. Just because your mind imagines something doesn't mean it's real. Just because a what-if pops up doesn't mean it deserves your energy. Life is heavy enough on its own. Don't let anxiety add unnecessary weight to your journey. Imagine how much lighter, how much freer, how much more alive you would feel if you decided, brick by brick, to let go of the fears that don't serve you. Because you can. You can decide today that you will not allow anxiety to load your backpack with stones that were never yours to carry. And the moment you start letting go of that weight, something amazing happens. You begin to stand taller. You begin to breathe easier. You begin to realize that you were never weak. You were just tired from carrying too much. And when you finally release that weight, you discover the strength that was inside you all along. The illusion of fear. Anxiety has a way of tricking the mind. It creates a picture so vivid, so convincing, that you begin to believe the danger is real, even when nothing is actually happening. Fear, in its purest form, is meant to protect you. If you're standing near the edge of a cliff, fear warns you to step back. If a car speeds toward you, fear tells you to move. That kind of fear is healthy. It keeps you alive. But anxiety doesn't work like that. Anxiety isn't responding to the present moment. It's not warning you about an actual danger right here and now. Instead, it invents possibilities, painting a future filled with problems that don't even exist. Anxiety is like a movie projector in your mind. It flashes images of what-if scenarios, scenes where everything goes wrong, stories where you're not enough. And because the pictures feel real, your body reacts as if they are real. Your heart races, your stomach knots, your chest tightens, all because of an illusion. Think about this. How many times have you dreaded a situation, imagined the worst possible outcome, only to realize later that things turned out completely fine? Maybe you feared a conversation that ended up being supportive. Maybe you imagined failure and instead experienced growth. Maybe you thought people would judge you, but they were kinder than you expected. That's the illusion of fear. It convinces you that disaster is certain when, in reality, it rarely happens the way your mind predicts. Here's the truth. The future doesn't exist yet. It hasn't happened. It's not written. Anxiety lives in a time and place that isn't real. The only place that's real is this moment, the breath you're taking, the ground under your feet, the reality unfolding right now. And in this moment, you are safe. When you begin to see fear as an illusion, you take away its power. You stop reacting to every thought as if it were a fact. You stop letting your mind trick you into fighting battles that don't exist. Instead, you anchor yourself in the present and ask, what is real right now? What is true in this moment? Almost always, the answer is simple. You're okay. This is how you begin to weaken anxiety, by recognizing that fear, without evidence, is only a shadow. It looks big, it feels heavy, but it disappears the moment you shine the light of awareness on it. So the next time anxiety tries to convince you of a story, pause and remember, it's just a projection, not reality. You don't have to believe every thought. You don't have to fight every what if. You don't have to live in a future that hasn't arrived. Fear may knock on your door, but you don't have to let it in. The illusion fades the moment you remember that the only place you ever truly live is right here, right now. And in this moment, you are safe. The life-changing realization. Here it is, the turning point, the shift, the breakthrough that changes everything. The thought that has the power to end anxiety is this: I can only live one moment at a time. Read that again. Let it sink in. I can only live one moment at a time. Anxiety thrives because it pulls you into tomorrow. It drags you into next week, into next year, into problems that don't even exist yet. It makes you believe you have to solve everything at once. The bills, the relationships, the future, the opinions of others. It convinces you that life is too big, too overwhelming, too much for you to handle. And of course, it feels overwhelming because no one can carry all of life at once. But here's the truth. You don't have to. You were never meant to. You can't live next year today. You can't fight battles that haven't arrived. You can't solve tomorrow's problems with today's strength. All you have, all you will ever have, is this single present moment. And in this moment, you are strong enough. When you shift your perspective to this thought, the weight of anxiety begins to fall away. Suddenly you realize you don't have to figure out your entire future right now. You don't have to carry 10 years of worry on your shoulders. You don't even have to live the whole day at once. All you ever need to handle is the one moment in front of you. Think about it. Hasn't that always been true? Every challenge you faced in the past, you handled it one moment at a time. Even in your hardest seasons, you got through them not by living all the pain at once, but by taking one breath, one choice, one step forward at a time. You didn't survive yesterday by solving your whole life. You survived because you handled the moment you were in, and you can do the same today. This realization is powerful because it shrinks anxiety down to size. Instead of a giant wave that threatens to drown you, life becomes a series of drops, moments that you can handle one by one. And the moment you focus only on this breath, this decision, this action, you strip anxiety of its control. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. Anxiety loves the shadows of the future, but when you shine the light of presence, its power disappears. That's why the thought, "I can only live one moment at a time," is more than just a phrase. It's an anchor. It's a weapon. It's the truth that sets you free. So the next time your mind starts racing, the next time you feel that familiar knot in your chest, stop and remind yourself, I don't have to live all of life today. I only have to live this moment. And this moment, I can handle. That is the life-changing realization. That is the beginning of peace. Action over imagination. Anxiety loves imagination. It thrives in the world of what if. What if I fail? What if they reject me? What if I embarrass myself? What if everything falls apart? These questions loop endlessly in your mind until you feel trapped. But notice something. All of those thoughts live in imagination, not in reality. Anxiety paints a movie in your head, and you keep watching it over and over, even though the movie isn't real. Here's the problem. When you live in imagination, you never actually move forward. You hesitate, you freeze, you avoid. You spend so much energy thinking about the possible outcomes that you never take the step that could create a real outcome. And that's exactly where anxiety gets its power. It paralyzes you in thought, so you never take action. But here's the key. Action destroys anxiety. The moment you stop replaying fears in your head and actually do something, make the call, start the task, speak the truth, you step out of imagination and into reality. And in reality, things are almost never as scary as they seemed in your mind. Think back to a time when you were dreading something. Maybe it was a presentation, an interview, or a difficult conversation. Beforehand, your imagination made it feel unbearable. You pictured failure, judgment, rejection. But then, when the moment actually came and you acted, it wasn't nearly as bad as you imagined. In fact, sometimes it even turned out better than you expected. That's the power of action. It silences the lies anxiety tries to tell you. Here's why. Anxiety feeds on uncertainty. When you don't act, your brain fills the empty space with endless what-ifs. But once you act, the uncertainty disappears. Action gives you real evidence, real feedback, and real progress. Instead of swimming in a sea of imagined problems, you create real solutions. That's why one of the fastest ways to weaken anxiety is to stop asking, what if? And start asking, what now? What can I do right now in this moment that moves me forward? It might be a small step, like sending the email, getting out of bed, or taking a deep breath before you start. But every action you take reminds you that you are not powerless. You are capable. And here's the beautiful part. Once you act, the anxious voice in your head begins to quiet, because it realizes it no longer has power over you. You're not sitting in fear, you're moving in courage. You're not living in imagination, you're living in reality. So the next time anxiety floods your mind with 100 what-ifs, pause and tell yourself, I don't need to solve every problem in my head. I only need to take one step in reality. And once you take that step, the fog begins to lift. Action is the antidote to anxiety. Every time you act, you take back your power. And when you live in action instead of imagination, you stop being a prisoner of your fears and start becoming the author of your future. The power of focus. One of the greatest truths about anxiety is this: your focus determines your feelings. Where your mind goes, your emotions follow. When you focus on everything that could go wrong, your body reacts with fear. Your chest tightens, your heart races, and your thoughts spiral out of control. But when you focus on what you can control, right here and right now, your body calms, your confidence rises, and peace becomes possible again. You see, the human mind can only hold one dominant thought at a time. And this is where the power lies. If you can choose what to focus on, you can choose how you feel. Anxiety scatters your focus. It throws 1,000 what-ifs at you, demanding your attention. But you don't have to chase every thought. You don't have to let your mind run wild. You can decide to bring your focus back to one single thought. I can only do what I can do right now. That simple statement has power, because it shifts your energy away from the endless chaos of the future and roots it in the present moment. It reminds you that you don't need to figure out every detail of tomorrow. You only need to focus on the step in front of you. And when you focus on one step at a time, anxiety loses its grip. Think about a camera lens. When it's zoomed out too far, everything looks blurry and overwhelming. But when you focus it tightly on one subject, the image becomes sharp and clear. That's exactly what happens when you control your focus. Instead of being overwhelmed by the big picture, you bring clarity to the one action that matters most right now. This is why people who train their focus can accomplish incredible things, even under pressure. Athletes, performers, leaders, they all face anxiety, but they know the secret is to narrow their attention. They don't waste energy on what if, they lock onto what now. And that same power is available to you. The truth is, you don't need to solve 100 problems at once. You don't need to live 10 steps ahead. You only need to direct your focus toward the next right action. And every time you do, you take your power back from anxiety. So the next time your mind begins to scatter, pause and ask yourself, where is my focus right now? Am I lost in the future, or am I present in the moment? Then gently guide your mind back to what you can control in this very second. It might be your breath, it might be the task in front of you, or it might be a small decision that moves you forward. Whatever it is, focus on it completely. Because here's the truth. One focused thought is stronger than 1,000 anxious ones. And when you choose to focus on what you can do now, instead of what might go wrong later, you turn chaos into clarity and fear into strength, breaking the cycle. Anxiety works in cycles. It starts with a small thought, maybe a worry about tomorrow or a doubt about yourself. That thought grows louder, spinning into what if after what if. Soon your body reacts, your heart races, your stomach turns, your breathing becomes shallow. Then you notice those feelings, and your mind says, see, something must be wrong. And the cycle continues stronger and stronger until you feel trapped inside it. But here's the good news. Cycles can be broken. You are not stuck in an endless loop of fear. The moment you recognize the pattern, you gain the power to interrupt it. And sometimes, breaking the cycle begins with one simple question. Am I in danger right now, in this very moment? Almost always the answer is no. You're not standing on the edge of a cliff. You're not being chased. You're not in actual physical danger. What you're experiencing is your mind projecting fear into the future. When you ask that question, am I in danger right now? You shine a light on the illusion. You remind yourself that in this present moment, you are safe. The more you practice this, the more you train your brain to see through the lies of anxiety. Instead of feeding the cycle with more what-ifs, you stop it by grounding yourself in reality. Because here's the truth, your body may react as if something's wrong, but that doesn't mean your life is in danger. It only means your mind has tricked your body into preparing for a threat that doesn't exist. Imagine someone knocking on your door every day and shouting, "There's a fire outside." At first, you panic, you run, you prepare. But every time you check, there's no fire. Eventually, you learn not to react. You hear the knock, you hear the warning, but you know it's false. Anxiety works the same way. It keeps knocking, shouting, danger is coming. But when you stop reacting, when you break the cycle, the fear loses its power. Breaking the cycle also means refusing to rehearse failure in your mind. Many of us practice our mistakes before they even happen. We run through worst-case scenarios so many times that we feel like we've already failed before we even try. But what if, instead of rehearsing fear, you rehearsed courage? What if you trained your mind to picture strength, to imagine success, to focus on growth instead of disaster? That shift alone can begin to dismantle the cycle. And here's something powerful to remember. Anxiety feeds on avoidance. The more you avoid situations because of fear, the stronger anxiety becomes. But when you face what you fear, one step at a time, you break its control. You teach your mind that the danger was never real, and the cycle begins to weaken. So the next time anxiety starts spinning its wheel, stop and ask, am I in danger right now? Remind yourself that the answer is almost always no. That awareness is the key that unlocks the door. That's how you break the cycle, by refusing to fuel it with fear and choosing instead to ground yourself in the truth of the present moment. The breath of control. There is one tool you carry with you every second of your life that has the power to calm anxiety instantly. Your breath. It sounds so simple, almost too simple, but don't underestimate it. Breathing is more than just survival. It's an anchor, a bridge between your body and your mind, and a tool that can bring you back to peace in the middle of chaos. Think about what happens when anxiety hits. Your chest tightens, your heart races, your breathing becomes shallow. It feels like your body is out of control, like you've lost command of yourself. But here's the truth. You're not powerless. You can step back into control simply by controlling your breath. When you inhale deeply and exhale slowly, you send a signal to your nervous system that says, I am safe. Your body responds to this signal by lowering your heart rate, releasing tension, and calming the storm in your mind. It's almost like flipping a switch from panic to peace. And the best part? You don't need any tools, any environment, or anyone else to do it. Your breath is always with you. The power of breath has been known for thousands of years. Warriors, monks, athletes, and healers have used it to steady their minds and sharpen their focus. And science now confirms what they knew all along. When you control your breath, you control your state of mind. Deep breathing activates the part of your nervous system responsible for relaxation, shifting you from fight or flight into rest and recovery. Try it right now. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4. Hold that breath for a moment. Then exhale gently through your mouth for a count of 6. Do it again. Feel how your body starts to soften, how your thoughts begin to slow down. That is the power of breath. It brings you back to the present moment, where anxiety has no control. This is why people call the breath an anchor. Imagine a ship on stormy seas, tossed around by waves of fear and doubt. Without an anchor, the ship is at the mercy of the storm. But with an anchor, it steadies itself, no matter how fierce the waves get. Your breath is that anchor. Whenever anxiety rises, you can drop into your breath and steady yourself, no matter what storm is raging inside your mind. And here's something beautiful. Your breath doesn't just calm you, it empowers you. Every deep breath you take is a reminder that you are alive, that you are in control, and that you are stronger than the fear trying to control you. So the next time anxiety tries to overwhelm you, don't fight it with force. Fight it with breath. Inhale calm, exhale fear. Inhale strength, exhale doubt. With every breath, you reclaim your peace. With every breath, you remind yourself that you are not trapped. You are in control. Because when life feels heavy and your thoughts spin out of control, your breath whispers the truth. You are here, you are safe, and you are stronger than your anxiety. Replacing fear with faith. At the core of every anxious thought is one thing: fear. Fear of failing, fear of being judged, fear of not being enough, fear of losing what you love. And fear has a sneaky way of disguising itself. Sometimes it shows up as endless worry, sometimes as hesitation, sometimes as overthinking. But no matter what mask it wears, it all comes from the same root: fear of what could go wrong. Now here's the truth. Fear and faith cannot exist in the same space. They are opposites. Fear is believing in a negative future that hasn't happened. Faith is believing in a positive future that hasn't happened. Both require imagination. Both require trust in something unseen. The question is, where are you putting your trust? When you live in fear, you constantly rehearse disaster in your mind. You see yourself stumbling, failing, being rejected, or falling short. And because you focus on those images, your body reacts as if they're already true. But when you shift to faith, you flip the script. You begin to imagine strength, success, resilience, and growth. And your body responds to those images as well. That's the power of belief. It shapes how you feel before anything has even happened. Think about this. How many times has your fear lied to you? How many times did you expect the worst, only to realize later that things turned out better than you imagined? Fear paints a false picture to paralyze you, but faith paints a picture to empower you. Fear says, you can't handle this. Faith says, no matter what happens, I'll find a way. And here's something even more powerful. Faith isn't just about believing in outcomes. It's about believing in yourself, believing that you are capable, believing that you can adapt, grow, and rise to any challenge. Even if things don't go perfectly, faith reminds you that you'll learn, you'll adjust, and you'll keep moving forward. Indeed, replacing fear with faith doesn't mean you never feel nervous again. It means you choose not to let fear control your decisions. It means that when fear whispers, "What if I fail?" you answer with faith, "What if I succeed?" When fear says, "What if they judge me?" you respond, "What if they're inspired by me?" When fear says, "What if I'm not enough?" you declare, "I am more than enough." This shift doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice. Every time fear shows up, you have an opportunity to replace it with faith. And the more you practice, the stronger your faith becomes, until eventually fear no longer has the same hold over you. So the next time anxiety fills your mind with fear, stop and remind yourself, fear and faith both ask me to believe in something I cannot see. Which one will I choose? Choose faith. Because faith doesn't promise that life will be easy. It promises that you'll have the strength to face whatever comes. And that strength has been inside you all along. You've already survived so much. Sometimes, in the middle of anxiety, it feels like you're weak. It feels like you're fragile. Like you can't handle one more struggle, one more challenge, one more problem. But I want you to stop right now and remember something powerful. You've already survived so much. Think back on your life. Think of the storms you faced, the nights you cried yourself to sleep, the moments you thought you wouldn't make it. Think of the heartbreaks, the failures, the rejections, the mistakes, the days when you felt completely lost. Yet here you are. You made it through. You're still standing. You're still breathing. You're still fighting. That alone proves that you are far stronger than your anxiety wants you to believe. Anxiety tries to erase your victories. It makes you forget the mountains you've already climbed. It convinces you that the challenge in front of you is bigger than all the ones you've faced before. But the truth is, you have an unbroken track record of surviving hard days. Every obstacle that was meant to break you has only revealed your strength. Every moment you thought you couldn't endure, you endured. Let that sink in. You've already lived through pain that seemed unbearable. You've already overcome things that felt impossible. You've already handled more than you gave yourself credit for. And if you could survive yesterday, if you could survive last year, if you could survive the darkest moments of your life, then why should you doubt yourself today? Strength isn't about never struggling. Strength is about standing back up when you fall. It's about carrying yourself forward when you're tired. It's about pushing through even when your mind says, I can't. And you've proven time and time again that you can. So when anxiety whispers, you're not strong enough for this, remind yourself, I've survived worse. I've endured past. I've faced storms, and I'm still here. That voice of fear cannot erase your history. Your past victories are evidence of your future strength. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is look back and recognize just how far you've come. You are not the same person you were years ago. You've grown, you've learned, you've adapted. You carry scars, yes. But scars don't mean you're broken. Scars mean you healed. Scars mean you lived through something that tried to destroy you and you came out the other side stronger. So don't let anxiety blind you to your own resilience. Don't let fear tell you that you can't when your life already proves that you can. The truth is, you are far more capable than you realize. The challenges you've overcome are not just memories. They are proof, evidence, and reminders that you are stronger than anything anxiety throws your way. And the next time fear rises, I want you to look it in the face and say, I've already survived so much, and I will. Anxiety's greatest fear. Anxiety often feels like an unstoppable force. It barges into your mind, takes over your thoughts, and convinces you that it has all the power. But here's the secret most people don't realize. Anxiety has a weakness. In fact, anxiety has a greatest fear, and once you understand this, you take back control. Anxiety's greatest fear is your awareness. You see, anxiety thrives in the shadows. It feeds on confusion, on automatic reactions, on your silence. It wants you to believe that it's permanent, that it's stronger than you, that it will always win. But the moment you shine awareness on it, by observing it instead of obeying it, you weaken its grip. Think about it. What usually happens when anxiety shows up? Your heart races, your stomach tightens, your mind spins with what ifs. Most people immediately panic, trying to resist the feeling, trying to fight it, trying to run away. And that's exactly what anxiety wants. It wants you to believe you're powerless. But what if, instead of resisting, you paused and said to yourself, this is anxiety. I see it, I feel it, but it is not me. Suddenly, the power shifts. You are no longer trapped inside the storm. You are standing outside it, watching it. And that awareness is what anxiety cannot handle. Awareness says, this feeling is temporary. It will pass. Awareness says, I am not my thoughts. I am the observer of my thoughts. Awareness says, anxiety is a guest. It doesn't live here permanently. And guess what? The more you practice this, the faster anxiety fades. It loses its intensity because you're not feeding it with fear anymore. You're not treating it as a monster. You're treating it as a passing cloud. And clouds, no matter how dark, always drift away. Here's the second thing anxiety fears: your courage. When you stop running from it and start facing it, anxiety crumbles. It thrives only when you avoid life, when you hide, when you shrink yourself to stay safe. But the moment you step forward despite the fear, when you give that speech, have that conversation, walk into that room, anxiety starts to lose its hold on you. Courage doesn't mean you don't feel anxious. Courage means you choose action anyway. And every time you do, you prove anxiety wrong. And finally, anxiety fears your peace. It hates when you slow down. Breathe deeply. Ground yourself in the present moment. Because in the present moment, anxiety cannot survive. Anxiety only lives in the what-ifs of the future or the regrets of the past. But in the now, it has no power. So remember this, anxiety is not stronger than you. It only pretends to be. Its greatest fear is that one day you'll wake up, recognize your strength, and refuse to obey its lies. That one day you'll stop fighting it and start seeing it for what it really is, a temporary wave that always passes. And that day can be today. The one thought that changes everything. For all the strategies, practices, and tools we've talked about, it all boils down to one simple, powerful truth. The one thought that has the power to silence anxiety and set you free is this: I don't have to believe everything I think. Pause for a moment and let that sink in. Your mind is a storyteller. It creates thoughts all day long. Some helpful, some useless, some uplifting, and some terrifying. Anxiety feeds on the scary ones. It grabs those what-ifs, amplifies them, and convinces you they're reality. But here's the liberating truth. A thought is just a thought. It's not fact. It's not destiny. It's not who you are. And you are under no obligation to believe it. Think of how many anxious thoughts you've had in your life that never came true. Thoughts like, I'll embarrass myself. They'll laugh at me. This will never work, or I can't handle this. Yet here you are, proving every one of those wrong simply by surviving, adapting, and pushing forward. When you adopt this one thought, I don't have to believe everything I think, you break the cycle. Suddenly, the voice of anxiety isn't the voice of truth. It's just noise. Suddenly, you have space between you and your thoughts. You can look at them, question them, and decide which ones to keep and which ones to let go. This thought gives you freedom. Freedom to challenge the lies anxiety tells. Freedom to laugh at the ridiculous scenarios your mind invents. Freedom to step back and say, that's just my brain doing its thing. It doesn't mean it's real. Imagine carrying this with you in daily life. You're about to step into a meeting and anxiety says, everyone will judge you. Instead of spiraling, you remind yourself, that's just a thought. I don't have to believe it. Instantly, the fear loses its grip. You're back in control. This one thought is like a key. It unlocks the prison that anxiety tries to build around you. It reminds you that you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts. And if you're the thinker, then you get to decide which ones deserve your attention. Of course, it takes practice. At first, your anxious mind will fight back, insisting its thoughts are urgent and true. But the more you practice observing and questioning your thoughts, the weaker anxiety becomes. Over time, you'll see anxious thoughts for what they really are, just passing clouds drifting through the sky of your mind. So remember this, you don't need to control every thought. You don't need to stop them all. You just need to hold on to this one powerful truth. I don't have to believe everything I think. And that, my friend, is the thought that changes everything. Living free from anxiety. Living free from anxiety doesn't mean you'll never feel anxious again. It doesn't mean your life will suddenly become perfect or that worries will magically disappear. What it truly means is that anxiety no longer controls you. It no longer dictates your choices, steals your peace, or convinces you that you're powerless. Living free from anxiety means you finally take back the driver's seat of your own life. Think about how anxiety has held you back. Maybe it stopped you from speaking up when you had something important to say. Maybe it kept you from pursuing opportunities because the fear of failure felt too heavy. Maybe it robbed you of sleep, of joy, of fully being present with the people you love. That's the cost of living under anxiety's shadow. But the moment you realize that you are stronger than your anxious thoughts, the moment you refuse to believe every story your mind tells you, that's when freedom begins. Living free means showing up in your life with courage, even when fear whispers in the background. It means saying, I hear you, anxiety, but I'm not listening to you anymore. It means choosing to take that step, have that conversation, chase that dream, even if your heart is racing. Because freedom isn't about eliminating fear. It's about refusing to let fear be the boss of your life. Imagine waking up each day knowing that even if anxiety shows up, it no longer has the power to control you. Imagine walking into rooms without overthinking what others might think. Imagine finally pursuing that dream, that relationship, that opportunity without being chained down by endless what-ifs. That's what living free looks like. Not the absence of anxiety, but the presence of courage, peace, and clarity. And the best part? Freedom grows with practice. Every time you pause, breathe, and remind yourself, I don't have to believe everything. Nang I think, you loosen anxiety's grip. Every time you take action despite fear, you prove to yourself that you are capable. Every time you ground yourself in the present moment, you steal power away from anxiety's lies. Slowly, your life stops being defined by worry and starts being defined by purpose. Living free doesn't mean you'll never stumble. It means you'll know how to rise. It means you'll trust yourself enough to handle whatever comes. It means you'll choose peace over panic, presence over projection, and courage over avoidance. So, as you step into this new chapter, remind yourself, anxiety may visit, but it doesn't get to stay. It may knock on the door, but you don't have to invite it in. You are the author of your story, not anxiety. You are the decision maker, not fear. Living free is not a distant dream. It's a choice you can start making today. One thought, one breath, one courageous step at a time. As we bring this journey together, let's pause and reflect on the powerful truth we've uncovered. Anxiety may have convinced you for years that it holds all the cards, that your thoughts define you, and that fear is stronger than your strength. But today, you've learned the opposite. You've discovered that anxiety is not your master. It's only a shadow, and shadows always disappear when light shines upon them. We've walked through the roots of anxiety, how it feeds on fear, and how it thrives when you run from it. But more importantly, we've uncovered its weakness, your awareness, your courage, your peace, and above all, your ability to separate yourself from your thoughts. That single shift, I don't have to believe everything I think, is the key that unlocks freedom. Think about it. How much of your life has been shaped by believing lies? Lies like, I'm not good enough, I can't handle this, or what if everything goes wrong? But here you are listening to this, proving every one of those lies wrong. If you were as weak as anxiety told you, you wouldn't even be here searching for freedom. The very fact that you're here means you are stronger than you realize. Living free from anxiety isn't about eliminating all fear. It's about no longer letting fear dictate your life. It's about stepping forward even when your heart races. It's about saying, yes, anxiety, I feel you, but you don't get to choose my path anymore. That's real power. That's freedom. And let's be clear, this is not about perfection. You don't need to conquer every anxious thought overnight. You don't need to transform your entire life in one moment. Freedom comes through small, consistent steps. Each time you pause and remind yourself, I am not my thoughts, you take back control. Each time you breathe deeply and anchor yourself in the present, you remind anxiety that it has no permanent home in our life. Each time you choose courage over avoidance, you grow stronger, braver, freer. This journey is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you already are beneath the noise of anxiety. Stronger, calmer, more resilient, more alive. It's about remembering that you were never broken, never powerless. Anxiety may have clouded your vision, but the light of your true self has always been shining. So as we close this chapter, hold on to this truth. Your anxiety does not define you. It never did. What defines you is your ability to rise, to endure, to keep moving forward even when fear tries to block your way. What defines you is your strength to choose peace, to choose presence, to choose freedom again and again. The one thought that ends anxiety isn't just an idea, it's a doorway. And now, it's wide open before you. The question is, will you step through it? And here we are at the end of this journey together. You've walked through the roots of anxiety, you've uncovered its tricks, and most importantly, you've discovered the one thought that has the power to set you free. I don't have to believe everything I think. Now take a moment and imagine your life if you truly lived this out. Imagine how different tomorrow could look if you refused to be controlled by anxious lies. Imagine the freedom of no longer second-guessing every move, no longer replaying worst-case scenarios, no longer giving fear the power to rob you of joy. That life is not a fantasy. It's waiting for you, and it begins the moment you choose to let this truth guide you. Remember this: anxiety is not a sign of weakness. It's not proof that you're broken or incapable. Anxiety simply means you've been believing your thoughts without questioning them. And now you have the key to break free. You can choose presence over projection, courage over fear, truth over lies. Living free doesn't mean anxiety will never knock on your door again. It means that when it does, you'll know exactly what to do. You'll smile, take a deep breath and say, "I don't have to believe you." And in that moment, the power shifts back to you. The world needs your light. It needs your voice, your gifts, your courage. But none of that can shine if anxiety keeps you trapped in silence. So step forward, take the risk, have the conversation, chase the dream, speak up, live fully, because you are stronger than you think, and anxiety no longer gets to hold the pen that writes your story. From this moment on, every time your anxious thoughts rise up, let them remind you of your strength, not your weakness. Let them remind you that you have a choice. Let them remind you that freedom is always one thought away. So carry this truth with you. Your thoughts are not your prison. They are just clouds passing through the sky of your mind. And you, my friend, are the sky. Vast, limitless, unshaken. If this message resonated with you, let it not just be something you listen to, let it be something you live. Start today. Start now. Choose freedom. Because here's the final truth I want to leave with you. Anxiety ends the moment you realize it doesn't own you. Never has, never will. And when you hold on to that one thought, you don't just end anxiety. You begin to live. Remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker. Choose wisely. One thought can end your anxiety, but one choice can transform your life. Anxiety doesn't end your story. You do.